This is not the propeller from a boat or the Super Bassamatic 76. It is the scariest router bit I have ever used. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not a guy who's scared of his tools. I've used routers for many years, and while I recognize them as among the most dangerous tools in the average woodworking shop, I have never seen a bigger finger eater than this thing. Why is it so dangerous? Is it because it's designed to spin at well over 100 miles per hour, completely unprotected by any sort of guard? Partly. But there's more to it than that. Something many woodworkers never think about. Something that can not only make this bit incredibly dangerous, but which can make other bits that you may have in your shop very dangerous as well. So this video isn't just about this router bit. It's about your bits that you use and how you could be doing something that puts your fingers at risk even without knowing it. The next couple of minutes is going to make you a safer woodworker. First of all, what's this big bit for? It's a panel raising bit. It's designed to cut the bevels for large panels, such as we made for this chest of drawers. Similar bits are used to make doors for kitchen cabinets. In fact, a lot of woodworkers, even hobbyists, will use something like this, or at least a slightly smaller version of it, at some point. This one in particular is 3.5 inches in diameter, and it weighs nearly 3/4 of a pound. Large bits like this should never be used in a handheld router. Even if your router's motor is powerful enough to push those cutters through the wood, the weight of the bit is going to make it harder to control the router, and the consequences of losing control are far too high. This is a router table only bit, and I think other extra large bits should be reserved for the router table as well. The problem is, where do you draw that line? If you look at my bit rack, and I acknowledge I have a larger collection of bits than most, but this means I can show you a wide variety of bits, including some you may have in your collection. But most of these, such as the straight bits and the various edge profile bits that are less than 1 inch in diameter, are perfectly safe to run in a handheld router. These larger profiles are for creating edges on tabletops. They aren't as large as that big panel raiser, but they're still about 2.5 inches in diameter. Now normally people say that 2.5 inches is pretty much the largest diameter you should use in a handheld router, and I agree. Anything over 2.5 is safest when used at a router table. But that doesn't mean everything 2.5 and smaller is safe to use handheld. Take this 2-inch straight bit for example. It's smaller in diameter than the edge profile bits. That makes it a safe diameter technically for handheld use, but it weighs more than twice as much. Despite its size, I consider a bit like this to be sketchy at best because it has so much mass in a handheld router. People rarely consider mass, and that can really get you in trouble. Heavy bits like this one, or large box cores or roundovers or bullnose bits, they're just too heavy to use handheld, and they can sometimes be unsafe in a router table if you don't take the proper precautions. Some routers, especially lower quality ones, aren't perfectly balanced. There can be a tiny bit of runout in the spindle. You might not notice it, but if you spin a heavy bit, you can get micro vibrations that can cause the collet to loosen around the bit's shaft. This actually happened to me years ago. Thankfully, I had the bit in a router table upward, so it just slipped down into the collet. If it had been mounted the other way, like in a handheld router, it may have slipped out of the collet and become a deadly projectile. So while I generally tell people not to over-tighten their router bits because you can damage the collet or the shaft, I do apply some extra torque when I'm using a larger or heavier bit because of the potential for micro vibrations if there is any runout in the spindle at all. But weight isn't the only thing that gets people. Size is also a concern, especially when you combine that with speed. The larger the bit's diameter, the slower you should be running it. Take these two examples. This one, again, is 3.5 inches in diameter. The other is 1.5 inches. But what really matters is the circumference, the distance the rim's cutters travel in a single revolution. On the larger bit, that's about 11 inches per revolution, while it's only about 4 inches per revolution on the smaller bit. Now, a lot of woodworkers run their power tools flat out all the time. So let's say these bits are both running at the same 22,000 RPM. That means the smaller bits cutters will be moving at about 125 miles per hour. But the larger bits cutters, having to travel nearly 3 times the distance per revolution, will be traveling near a blistering 230 miles per hour. Same router speed setting, but 100 miles per hour different. Router bits aren't designed to move that fast or to endure that much centrifugal force. It generates heat, and depending on the quality of the bit, it could cause the cutter to come off or a bit to come loose. But if you slow the router down to about 12,000 RPM, the cutters will then be traveling at a much safer 125 mile per hour range. So we have two different bits, run at two vastly different RPM, but cutting at roughly the same speed. It's an interesting concept that some people have trouble wrapping their heads around. So here's a simple chart from an old woodworking magazine that you can use as a guide. Now what if your router only has numbers on the dial and not the specific RPM? How do you know where to set it? Well, the first thing I do is look in your manual or search online to find out the range of speeds your router is capable of. This router ranges from 9,000 to 22,000 RPM, so I know that the dial position 1 is 9,000 and dial position 5 is 22,000, and I can do the math to figure out the settings in between and record them somewhere for future reference. Most variable speed routers range from 8 to 9,000 on the low end to 22 to 24,000 on the high end. So if you can't find something specific to your router, you might use those numbers as your range. But do some testing with various bits, slowly increasing the speed. If you feel any vibration at all, back it off and record that max speed for that bit somewhere handy for next time. Another consideration when using large bits is the aggressiveness of the cut. If you have a powerful router motor, you may be able to take a relatively deep cut, particularly at the router table. Mine is more than 3 horsepower, and you can see it handles this cherry pretty well. Even so, I don't like to take a full cut with a very large bit. For one thing, if the bit catches on something like a knot, an aggressive cut could rip a smaller piece of wood from your hands. That's also why paddles are an absolute must with one of these large bits. You want something between your hand and the bit should something go wrong. But the quality of the cut is also a concern. Even if it could cut in a single pass, you'll be working your router and your bit much harder than you should. You could get chatter marks, you could get scorching, you'll definitely get more tear out if the wood grain isn't perfect. You'll simply get a smoother, cleaner surface if you cut a large profile in 2 or 3 passes with a very light finishing pass at the very end, just to clean everything up. This big helicopter-looking bit still tightens my pucker, but there's no need to fear your tools. Just learn about them before you use them, then follow the guidelines. I hope this video helps. Now here's one more thing I think will help in your workshop. It's just a couple of cuts. Your ears will be fine, right? They will be if you have your IsoTunes Bluetooth earbuds in, because you'd already have your ANSI certified hearing protection on because you're listening to your favorite music and podcasts. And you're supporting a small family business at the same time. Please use the link below this video to learn more and to show them you support what we do as well.